Hello again. My name is Hen. Well, my name isn't Hen. I am Hen, or I am the Hen of this podcast. And my friends for today are. Did you just make a noise?
No, the chicken that made a noise, you know.
Why have you got a chicken in your
Because you said
room?
I am a hen, and that conjured the chicken.
What if my name was Henry?
Yeah, but we've discussed this last week.
We've discussed that
Shameless
that's
plug for
not that's not a
last
thing
week's
apparently.
episode.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
That's true. You got a point there.
yeah. The shameless plug. Go re-listen to last week's episode to catch that insightful
Well,
joke
now
and
the
humor.
problem is that you've ruined my intro. so so I'm going to redo it if that's okay with you.
Wow. Yeah.
I am fuck.
Oh wow! I didn't
So,
realize we were
dear
having sex already.
listeners, I
Damn.
keep saying viewers like it's an audio-visual experience when it is in fact an audio experience. Hello,
I
dear.
mean, they can watch the video.
But they won't be looking at much other than an crude
Inspiring
image, an
piece of
inspiring piece of
artwork.
art indeed.
Right, go on. From the top.
I am Hen, and my friend. Don't do the fucking things. That's banned. The emojis are banned from the podcast. Do you like? I'm banning those right now. I am like preemptively banning those before they turn into a complete fucking shit show.
I wasn't going to do the actual ones. I was just going to use the crack one.
I am the nominal Hen, and my friends for today are.
I'm TD.
Tilde.
And I still exist. My existence has not changed within the last week. I am still alive and existing on this ethereal plane. Yeah.
And I'm also here. Chris is also here.
We're all here. Everyone's here, I think. You know,
Everyone's here.
we've decided.
Everyone's here. Do.
So, shall we?
Goes.
I'm gonna introduce the intro. Oh.
Okay. Introduce
You
the
just did
intro.
that.
No.
Yeah, you just did that.
No, I did. No. That was the sort of intro like phrase that eases the
That was
listeners in.
pre-intro.
But now we're going to do the housekeeping, you know, as it were.
Yeah.
That was the pre-intro.
You just copied that from Jar.
Yeah, along with many other things. So you should on my end. Oh my god, what?
Flashbacks to year 11 where you were the living embodiment of IHE in secondary
Literally
school.
me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, you should notice a improvement in audio quality on my end because I am now using my microphone array. So yeah, we're more professional now. We are in the upper leagues of the podcast, you know, industry, if you will.
Yep.
Other than that, I apologise for the Discord notifications in the last podcast. That has been rectified in this one. You shall be pleased to know. So yeah.
I think we were mostly amazed, Ben, to know that you have so many friends that want to message you on Discord.
Well, I'm very popular, you see. That's the thing.
Oh yeah, I was like, hang on, should I mute mine? Then I realised I'm not recording this. So
No, the only one whose screen can be deciphered is my own. So that's the problem, isn't it?
yeah. Yeah, I got everyone hitting me up on Discord. I've got
Have you got
Jeff
paintings?
Sessions, I've got Jeff Bezos, I've got
Why the
Barack
fuck did you mention?
Obama.
Johnny Sins.
Why did you mention? Yeah, why did you mention Jeff Sessions?
Who is Jeff Sessions?
Because
He's the
former Attorney General of the United
General.
States.
Oh, right.
Why did I mention him? Because he has a cool name. Say whatever else you'd like about him. But
It
I
sounds like
his
one
name.
of those, like it sounds like an album, like the Jeff Sessions.
Yeah. See, he's got a cool name.
He has got a cool name, although his name sounds like, again, a recording session.
Because he has a cool name, and Jeff Bezos is overdone. And
It's Friday
who
night.
else begins with Jeff?
And I'm going to a proper naughty sesh.
Yep.
It's
I
actually Monday night.
thought we were going to Rebecca Black for Friday, but
Yeah.
no singing, otherwise we'll get copyright claimed.
Is that how that works?
I
Yeah.
think Ben's voice is far enough away from Rebecca Black. So
No. Ben. He sounds almost exactly like Rebecca Black. But
In the last
he will not
podcast,
confirm
I
it.
sang the TikTok song from a movie that will not be named, and
And you sang oh wait, that's
in the land of traders. Yeah, that was my
Yeah,
pre-intro
yeah,
intro.
but
Pre-intro.
Unfortunately, Ben sounds exactly like Rebecca Black when he
True,
sings.
you've got a point there.
We have all heard and confirmed this, and so the YouTube copyright bots would instantly zone in on your location and blast you and the entire island of Honshu out of the sea. Yeah.
True. I mean, Honshu is under threat from many things, after all.
YouTube copy strike bots first off.
True.
then Godzilla.
Yeah.
So, should we move on to our first topic for today? I don't know if everyone's okay with that. So,
Yeah,
go on.
we're going to approach this week's podcast in sort of descending order of. We're going to start with perhaps I think the most pressing topic to face the world this week. Then we're going to move down into the less important categories.
Yeah, like the unimportant things, like the people of an
minus
entire
like nose
country.
hair.
Yeah,
nose hair. I think nose hair is like really
the demographic
really
collapse of a
important.
country, things like that.
Yeah, but what about
Mine
chest
issue.
hair?
I don't have any.
I mean,
really-
you think about nose hair, but have you thought about chest hair?
I don't have
Back
any
hair
chest
as
hair.
well.
Well, if we
Back hair's
can get
annoying.
Ducky Rout on the cast, if we can get Ducky Rout on the cast, we can ask him all about it.
Chest hair? Do you think he's an expert?
Yeah.
What about leg hair?
Oh, that's sexy. I have.
Well,
leg
we
hair.
have we've got the experts right here, haven't we? We've got you and Ben.
Who's Ewan?
You and Ben. Trolley.
Funny.
Right. Anyway, to really, I think what we need to address this week is Alvin the Chipmunks,
Banger OST.
Banger OST, and also international terrorists.
Yeah. So, Chris and I were listening to music as one does, and we discovered a great sort of soundtrack that is known as Alvin and the Chipmunks 2 The Squeakle. There's kind of some bangers in there, isn't there? Like, what do you think?
There's some.
What was among your favourites of this soundtrack?
I can't remember if it was on the Squeakle or not, but there was the
Katy Perry one?
LMFAO. Yeah, Katy Perry as well. But the LMFAO one comes to mind.
I think if they produced some better instrumentals, it might have been a better product overall, to be honest.
I think if they didn't do Alvin and the Chipmunks, it would have been a better product overall.
What, you don't think that...
What, you want an Alvin solo movie? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I want a film where it's just Uncle Ian.
Who the fuck is Uncle Ian?
Oh, he's done his research. There's gonna be like some obscure.
He's
Alvin
like
Chipmunk.
No, wait,
completely...
do they call him Uncle Ian in the film? Fucking, what's his face? I'm gonna get the cast up right now. The one, what's his fucking?
I can't
where's he gone?
remember. Is it like? I swear,
While you're looking that up,
isn't the actor
I have
the
another
same-
question to pose.
The actor is the same
Why
guy as the
did-
Sonic movie. Go on.
Why did Alvin and the Chipmunks and the Smurfs never share a cinematic universe? Like, they're literally like big human guy interacts with small animated creature. Like that shit would have gone hard.
The
And then
whole,
Alvin and the
like-
Chipmunks can go to Smurf Town or wherever it's called. Please don't cancel me, Smurfs fans. And then they can sing, and they both came out around the same time, I think.
Well, there was that whole sort of era of hybrid animation films, because you had like the Stuart Little films as well, and
they slightly predated Alvin and the Chipmunks, I believe.
they were still in the
Alvin and
2000s though.
Chipmunks.
No,
Right, but the thing is,
Yeah.
I think this is what's scariest is that Alvin and the Chipmunks as an IP first came into existence in 1959.
yeah, but they didn't tack it
So-
onto that whole hybrid animation trend till 2007.
No, that is true. And Uncle Ian does exist. It's played by David Cross. David Cross's character is called Ian Hawke, and they refer to him in the film as Uncle Ian.
Yo, is that Kung Fu Panda Crane?
Yo,
That's great. That's Kung Fu Panda Crane.
I haven't seen Kung Fu Panda 4. Please no spoilers.
Apparently, it's mid as fuck. It's really not that good.
That's disappointing. But anyway,
It's got,
sorry, you guys go on
it's
with
got
your
that, like-
Alvin and the Chipmunks.
It's got like that Asian rapper who plays the fucking character in The Little Mermaid.
And I'd like to make an
We're
apology.
talking about the live action Little Mermaid.
Damn right, we're talking about the live action Little Mermaid.
You hang on. Let's just confirm this. You exchanged some of your own private capital and time to watch a shitty remake of a classic 90s animated film.
No, I watched
Just
the Your Movie Sucks video.
Okay.
But I have regularly listened to. So basically, for the live action version, they added in a new song that was sung by the character Scuttle, right? And
Right.
they recast Scuttle with this like Asian American rapper called Aquafina, and the song is the worst thing maybe ever.
Isn't that a BoJack character?
Maybe. I've not seen BoJack.
I thought Aquafina was a brand.
No, she's a rapper.
Aquafina is a brand of water.
Maybe she named herself. What came first, the
Made
Asian
by
rapper
Pepsi.
or the or the water? What do you think?
Oh yeah. No, that Aquafina is a BoJack character as well. Yeah.
Ah, she spells her name differently.
And
She
she was
spells
in
it like-
she was in Kung Fu Panda 4. Apparently, she was very not that good.
Okay. But yeah, no, my proudest achievement of audio-visual experiences is that I have never either exchanged money and or time to watch a live-action remake of anything. Woohoo. Fuck you, live-action remakes.
Neither
Fuck
have
you,
I.
Last Avatar.
I also haven't.
Oh, actually, hang on. Other than the last Avatar one by M. Night Shyamalan, but I don't think that counts because that's not a remake. That's a literal piece of poo, and it's funny.
And by Avatar, you mean The Last Airbender, not...
Yeah, I mean the last Airbender.
Not the way of the water.
Yeah, not blue people. Yeah,
Wow, curb
blue people.
curb your bluism, please.
Blue people are cool. Yeah, shout out that song.
Well, with what you were saying about
You
the
know the song I'm
Smurfs
talking
before, that would make sense as being your position. No.
Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I've derailed the conversation.
The only
so
the only blue life that matters.
Oh God! Right.
I'm not editing that out, by the way.
Okay, you have fun.
You heard it here first.
As a
folks.
Sonic fan, I know about Blue Lives That Matter.
As a Sonic fan, I know about Pumpkin Hill, and I know about how Knuckles needs to find all... We've discussed this. The YouTube copyright bots are going to
A
strike
ghost tried
you.
to approach me and got leery. Asked me a question, then I vanished in a second.
No, then he vanished in a
Oh,
second.
sorry.
Oh wow,
That
you
isn't something
misquoted
that isn't something
the
that Knuckles
Messiah.
would do. Isn't something that he would do.
Yeah, Knuckles ain't a pussy. He fights. We love Knuckles.
Unlike Sonic, he doesn't chuckle. He would much rather flex his muscles.
Yeah, he's Knuckles.
I've not seen the. Have you seen that there's a new Knuckles show?
Idris Elba
With
Knuckles
Idris Elba
show.
as Knuckles.
Yes. I want to see that. Have I seen any of the Sonic movies? No. Do I care about Sonic? Not a lot. I care about fucking Knuckles the Echidna.
Honestly, the Sonic movies. This kind of relates to the hybrid animation thing. The Sonic movies are actually quite fun. I enjoyed them. I won't lie. Like, they have no right to be as good as they ended up being. Like, they...
Does Knuckles rap in them?
No. Knuckles is very serious.
Well, then it's bad. Knuckles needs to do rap for it to be good.
He's not that kind of character in the films, is the thing.
Well, they've clearly got a poor handling of Knuckles' character. Knuckles, the first thing that comes to mind when you say Knuckles, first, he likes fighting. Second, he likes rapping. And third, he's got to find all the pieces of the Master Emerald.
He likes weed. We've established this.
Weed.
Well, yes.
And he likes
in the
he likes bat women.
Dubs.
He likes bat ladies.
Oh,
That's
God.
a canon dub,
Right.
TD. It's a canon dub.
Okay, TD, right. Moving on.
Yeah.
What is your opinion on the movie Hop?
Why was it the best film to never
And
win
why was it snubbed at the Oscars?
Well, I've got to say that isn't one of the scenes from Hop literally one of the scenes from the Sonic trailer? Back on Knuckles and Sonic and friends.
What do you mean by that?
Because it's the same guy, and he's
it is the
car.
same guy. You've got a good point, actually.
It's the same guy.
Yeah, it's
and he's driving a car.
James Marsden?
And his animated friend.
James Marsden. Yeah.
And his animated friend is in the car with him, and they're talking. So all I'm saying is that movie was prophetic. It predicted that Sonic would be next in the car with him. Yep.
But TD, what I would say is that Hop has managed to be, it's an Illumination film about the Easter Bunny that was cancelled for offending Mexicans. Because the
it got cancelled.
Yeah, the Easter Bunny's second in command, Carlos the Chick, in the film.
He was like a Hispanic stereotype or something.
Hispanic stereotype, and he plots a coup d'etat against the Easter Bunny.
Which, I'm not sure what that's saying about the state of Latin American democracy, but
I mean, if you want to discuss Venezuela, I think that's best done on another cast because that's a plot line.
Honestly, TD, I thought of a drinking game, and it is in the last podcast. Take a shot every time you say, "Let's discuss this on another cast."
The problem is there's so many fucking in jokes and stuff that I feel would make great casts.
Okay.
But if we just say them, we don't quite get how
impossible
funny it is.
challenge, impossible drinking game.
But TD, just to continue on the Hops thing. Oh, just to continue on the Hops thing, right? Kaylee Cuoco is in that film from The Big Bang Theory and Alvin and the Chipmunks.
Is she in Young Sheldon?
David, hang on. Who is this person? Who do they portray?
Penny.
Both.
Penny.
Oh, the blonde one.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Right. David Hasselhoff is in this film as himself, and he actually saves the day because he convinces the Easter Bunny's son, EB, to go back to the island and free his father from Carlos, who's now become a chick bunny hybrid.
Hang on, the Easter Bunny has a kid?
Yeah, called EB. EB, Easter Bunny.
Oh.
His initial.
and he supports conspiracy theories.
And then,
interesting.
finally, most importantly, there are 2 voice cast actors that we need to discuss. Hugh
Right.
Laurie is the Easter Bunny, the current Easter Bunny, so the father. But also in the credits is Hugh Hefner as the voice at Playboy Mansion. This is a kids' film.
Hang on,
about
they
the
go
Easter
to
Bunny.
Playboy Mansion.
Yes.
Right, and this got a.
I think having Russell Brand in the film at all ages it
audio-
quite badly.
But I wasn't going to mention that.
Yeah,
The fact
poor
that
choice of actors aside, they go to the Playboy Mansion, and this got a kid friendly rating in every
To you.
territory it was released in.
Yeah, to you.
Hindsight is 2020.
Jesus, cuff above. Okay, well that's something. I mean, I guess it's got the bunny theme, but that's why I feel like that was not a wise decision on the part of the creators. But you know what? Good for them.
It makes sense. The director directed Alvin the Chipmunks and the animated Garfield film.
Right.
Wait,
So what we're saying-
the Bill Murray one.
Yes.
That's another one we can throw in that hybrid animation sort of genre.
Yeah. We need a hybrid animation cinematic universe, only dating from 2000 until 2015, and yeah, I think we need an Avengers level team up. Who are they going to be fighting against? What's the plot line of the movie? That's up for the director to come up with. I just want a reference in the
It
credits.
should all be against Garfield.
Or what? He eats too many lasagnas and he gets indescribable.
He becomes
knowledge,
like a
and then
planet level threat.
Yeah,
And
right.
he hates
Okay.
Mondays. And he hates Mondays.
Oh yes, yeah. So we can cameo.
Oh my
and
God, it's Monday
say
today.
the words drama Monday. Yeah,
Yo, it's Monday today.
it's actually Monday for all 3 of us for another 2 hours. So yeah, take that, time zones. Yeah.
Do you think that another thing that I would like to bring up, similarly to the Alvin and the Chipmunks OST, is I listened to the entire Hampton the Hamster album this week.
Oh, for fuck's sake!
The best. Hamsters Fall in Love was emotional.
How much? We're gonna say content. Was that?
I think it was 40 minutes. I was not paying much attention to it, but I did listen to it.
I'm honestly, Ben, I'm impressed that you actually followed through on that promise.
Well, I just sort of put it on in the background and I listened in the songs that were actually worth paying attention to, which wasn't many of them, but some of them were. Come on and party. Come on and party. Come on and party. Party with the hamster dance.
So what was your favourite track on the album then?
Ooh, probably I can't remember the name, but it's Party with the Hamster Dance. And it is no, actually it's still Country Boy.
Thank God I'm a country boy.
Well, life on the farm's kinda laid back. So good. I think the auto tune was a precursor to Travis Scott.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yep.
I can see the influence.
Well, really, hang on. Wasn't a Crazy Frog a precursor to that, or have I got my timeline confused?
I think Crazy Frog came after Hamster Dance.
Really? Damn.
Yeah, it's an early ass meme. This is all your base are belong to us era of memes, bro.
Oh wow. Okay.
This is serious OG shit.
So even predating fucking Leroy Jenkins.
Crazy Frog was 2003.
When was Leroy Jenkins? Because I know it's a WoW meme.
Leroy Jenkins was 2004/5, I think.
This was like 2000, 1999. Like
Right.
Leroy
Okay.
Jenkins is 2005.
Leroy.
Yeah. See. Leroy
Jenkins.
God damn it, Leroy. Hang on. Do either of you remember when that was my phone notification sound? That was.
I don't recall.
because I don't
No.
think we were ever in a situation where you'd have your phone unmuted.
Yeah, true.
Not many.
Was it Nokia? Was it the Nokia brick era, or was it later on?
No. It was later than that. Bold of you to assume the Nokia brick played more than an 8-bit sound. Yeah. It was my first phone. No. That was not my Nokia brick ringtone. My Nokia brick ringtone was the William Tell overture, because I am a man of sophistication, even when I was 13.
Do you watch Rick and Morty?
Yes. I have a high IQ. The Rick and Morty. Seen that. Seen season 7. Yeah.
So TD, there's one more thing I want to bring up that was something that we discussed this week that I think I would like to talk.
Is this the meme I sent you?
Yes. Yeah. Me and TD had a bit of a discussion about this, and I wanted your TD. Can you send the meme to Chris?
Yeah.
Do you want a live reaction?
I'm gonna be distant. I'm gonna be distant from the microphone for about 5 seconds because my phone's nowhere near me.
And what I'll do is on the video on YouTube, I'll put the picture on screen so the audience can see it. I know it's supposed to be a sort of audio thing, but if you want to see it, I'll put it on the video. So.
Can I make a request then? Can we have, as part of the album art, the fucking Carlos as a chick buddy hybrid?
Yes. That could be part of it. That could be part of it.
Ding dong.
That's also disturbing.
Yeah.
Meme has been sent.
How have you sent it to me?
Instagram?
Is it on Instagram?
Okay. Instagram.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm opening.
Let me quickly get up the meme just so I can see.
Here we go. I am now
dealing
viewing the. What is this?
Oh wait, hang on. No, that was the one that Ben sent. That was the one that Ben sent.
No, yeah, that's the wrong one. That's a different one.
That's the wrong one. I've sent the wrong one. Sorry, Clark. Stand by for the real one.
I don't know what most
Stand
of
by
these
for the real
flags
one.
are.
No, that's because it's the wrong meme.
Yeah, that was another one that I found that was a lot more obscure.
Ignore that one.
That was a lot more
But
obscure.
why is Jesus in North Korea and South Korea and also that looks to be Romania?
wait.
New Zealand's mentioned. Rah!
Wait for the other one.
And then the other team, you've got Nepal, Finland.
Have you sent him the original one?
Yeah, no, I've sent the original.
Why is the other team though Nepal, Finland?
So what me and TD were trying.
The Rising Sun and Estonia.
Right. No. Clark, go to the next one. I've sent you the correct one now.
You haven't sent me the correct one.
Yes, I have. I
one.
unsent the old one and I sent you the new one. So
what does this mean?
So what do we think?
Both sides?
So right.
Yeah.
The point is here. Me and TD were discussing what do we think the actual dispute between the two sides here are, because you've got led by China, you've got North Korea, Israel and Palestine. You've got New Zealand, you've got South Korea.
Yeah.
You've got Blue Lives, you've got Joe Biden, you've got the Pope,
explicitly just Joe Biden,
and you've got the trans community.
Oh, and you've got NATO/Ukraine, and you've got the Aborigine community
led by the US. Go on to TV.
Oh, and you've got Switzerland and Poland. I'm not sure if you mentioned Poland.
Led by the US
he
on
mentioned
the
the
other side. You've got Taiwan
on the devil's side.
The EU, the UK again, Japan,
Yep.
Marlboro
sides.
cigarettes, and the Olympic Games.
And Mexico.
Mexico, Saudi Arabia, Ireland, the LGBT flag, Germany,
and Egypt.
America.
Which side are you on?
And Egypt.
Which side are you on?
I'm on the side that New Zealand's on. Shout out New Zealand. Give me a citizenship.
I'm
please.
on Israel and Palestine and Mississippi.
I don't understand. What does it mean?
Well,
we're-
say your theory. Say your theory.
My theory was that now this doesn't hold up in every case, but like the US and the countries on the devil's side are the countries of historical like power and potential oppression, right? Now, the countries and other things on the right side are the more repressed and like oppressed things. So that's why you've got like trans community, like Iran that got pretty fucked over in the 50s. You've got the Aborigine community. You've got Ukraine. But you've got Ukraine on both sides.
That doesn't really hold water though when you see Russia.
Well, no, because Russia got oppressed by the Soviets, 100% definitely.
Who were the Irish oppressing?
Themselves. They definitely wasn't the British Empire. Definitely.
Why are we on both sides though? This theory makes no sense.
We oppress ourselves. Let's be honest.
I thought
we're on the Jesus side because we got oppressed by the EU, right? And we're on the devil side because we did colonialism.
I thought you said that your theory. Go on, Chris. Go on.
What's the second to bottom flag on the far left, like with the blue and white?
That's the Mississippi flag. That's Mississippi.
Mississippi. Okay.
No. It's the new Mississippi flag from 2020 because the old one had the Confederate flag on it.
And we don't like racism.
And they changed that in 2020. It's quite a good flag. It's got like a lotus flower in the middle. I quite like it.
Yeah, it is a good state flag.
It's a good state
I'm not
flag.
Sure if you've seen some of the other.
Some of them are horrendous.
But they are shit.
Yeah.
Why is Mississippi an oppressor?
No. Mississippi's oppressed. We don't know why, but it is.
Oh, way down south.
Yeah.
That's some history I'm not ready to go into.
What do you mean? What do you mean? No, Mississippi's on the left, isn't it?
No, Mississippi's on the right with Jesus.
I was asking
just below Israel and.
Yeah, I know
left.
that one. What's the flag just above the Mexican flag on the left?
Cuba.
I thought it was Cuba. That's why I was confused. Who's Cuba been oppressing?
Their citizens.
Cuba's being they're populous.
With communism.
Definitely, the US blockade isn't doing anything wrong, not at all.
I think it's just a bit like pointless at this point.
But yeah, that's my kind of.
I thought
theory.
your theory was though that it was like Brexit, and you've got the UK on both sides because of the divided British populace.
That also explains. Because the US was oppressed by the UK.
You got the Brexiteer trans community.
Yeah, and you've got
there's a couple of holes in this theory.
You've got both the pro-Israel and Palestine communities on the same side.
Do you think that Hamas are pro-Brexit?
I really haven't the foggiest. We need Hassan Piker to interview more people and ask them this
we'll know.
Deep and insightful question.
I don't think Hassan knows what Brexit is.
Forget. So you're like this anime character. It's so what do you think of Brexit? That's
I see.
Yeah.
I think if there's any audience members that have any theories as to what this the dispute could be between the two tribes, please let us know, because we currently have no idea. I think with that, I don't know if that concludes this theory.
Yeah. Do we want to move on to my random subject?
With that, we can move on to your surprise topic if you want, TD.
Right.
One second.
Okay. So
One last point, please,
yeah.
on that.
Go on.
Of course.
The image has Jesus on the right. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it the devil on the left? Yes, devil on the left.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how some of those groups on the right would feel about being associated with Jesus.
That is correct.
Especially.
Well, this is just the opinion.
Well, and
of
North Korea. Excuse me, North Korea's banned religion too.
It doesn't.
This is just the opinion of the creator of this meme, though. I think.
And I'm not sure how Catholic Mexico is going to feel about being put with the devil.
Or Palestine being put with Jesus. Oh no, but in Islam, in Islam they do see Jesus as like
Jesus
a prophet,
is a prophet,
but he's not like the son of God. Correct?
No, he's not the son of God. He's just a prophet.
Maybe they wouldn't be against that then.
Yeah.
Islamic countries like Jesus.
Now Biden and Harris being with Jesus now, that is that is risky.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Biden's Catholic. We know this. Yeah.
Look, I don't want to get any like YouTube like you know, like when you talk about something like the COVID or QAnon, and then it gives you like a thing about what QAnon.
You've said it now.
QAnon is a fake theory. There you go.
Okay, right. Anyway, so we ready to move on to TD's surprise topic?
Yeah, I think that's enough of that.
Okay, right. So to completely pivot to TD's surprise topic of the week. Now, so in this modern world, as university students, I'm imagining you guys as well, spend the most of my time, if not all of my time, doing like assignments and things and whatever on computers, right? Be it my laptop or one of the PCs in like the library or whatever, right? So, imagine my surprise when I walk in for a test one day, and they're like, "Oh yeah, by the way, it's handwritten. Get out your fucking pens and write, bitch." Like, excuse me? I have not done a handwritten test since before COVID. Can you respectfully not do that? But no, it was a handwritten test. Like 50 minutes. Write as much as you can about this specific topic, and I'm just like, but why? Like, the fact that it's closed book, especially for it was a history test. It's not useful. It's not. I don't feel like that's an adequate representation of my abilities, especially because, and I'm not going to get into it, my handwriting's shit. And yeah, I just thought I'd bring that up on the cast and have you guys, because Ben, I think you will have done more handwritten stuff with Japanese.
Yeah, this is what I'm about to get into, because I think my experience is very different to a lot of people's.
Well, I would say is all of my exams, apart from the 2020 ones, have been handwritten.
Really?
In the sports hall, yeah.
Wow.
In a classroom. Well, it's more secure, isn't it, than having it online?
But I guess you're doing questions where it's quite STEM related, and so there is going to be a right and wrong answer.
Most of the time, yes.
Yeah. Whereas,
but if you want to have a closed book exam, if you want to have a closed book exam, having no computers is easier than having locked down computers, isn't it?
I suppose it just threw me.
So you've had so is it that, because both of us, because TD, me and you went to like uni sort of post COVID restrictions, so I don't know whether that changed things at all, but potentially, yeah. But I mean, for me, all of my like it depends. For the Japanese language module, they've all been handwritten, and the reason that is because part of the component is being able to write the kanji. So if you don't handwrite
Yeah.
it, there's no way they can test you on that. So
Yeah, because if you've got a keyboard, you can.
yeah,
you
if you've
can
got a keyboard,
effectively type kanji.
yeah, as long as you know the reading, you can automatically put it in and it'll just come up for you.
Yeah.
So
But with your other courses, modules, papers,
yeah,
whatever we're calling them, like I know you did like a history paper
yeah,
or two.
quite a few.
No handwritten tests or anything.
So
right?
the exams so the actual essays have obviously been typed. So I imagine the same's true for you as well, or has been historically.
Yeah.
Well, but there are also like open book exams for us, but I don't think they were open book before COVID, but they have been ever since then.
And you've been able to type those, correct?
Well, no, only type.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think maybe you could handwrite it if you really wanted to, but they've been online as well.
Okay.
So you get 48 hours, and it's essentially like the same as an essay, but instead of, I don't know, as long as
instead of having
multiple weeks, you've got like 48 hours to do what you can.
And they generally don't care too much about referencing, in my experience.
No, yeah, I tend to just go at it in one go and get it over with. That's what I do.
Yeah. So yeah, it came because we've even had kind of like multiple choice and like fill in the blank like tests and stuff, but those have all been online up until I came to. This is the third university that I have studied at for reasons which I again will not get into right now. But both previous ones, and I'm imagining when I go back from my year abroad to my home institution, I will like never experience this again. It's just like there is free handwritten history essay like exams, and it really did make me think, because with the laptop, if I don't like a wording that I've used, or if I want to like piss around with like paragraph order, or if I don't have any ideas in my head right at this moment, but I'm going to do research or whatever, or I'm going to just wait until I see the rest of the essay like filled out and then go back to do my introduction, I can do that. I can leave that. But with handwriting, I feel like unless you leave like a load of blank space, which if you don't come back, you're kind of fucked. It feels like a completely different way of structuring my thoughts, and I do not like it anymore.
Honestly, I've not done a handwritten exam because obviously in college, like I didn't. Well, not obviously to people that don't know, but both me and TD used a computer to type our exams throughout the school years, and so like now it's not weird with the Japanese language ones. For now, just doing like a regular essay exam handwritten would be very bizarre now. Don't know about, and I imagine it is for you as well.
It very much is. I really dislike it. I got substantially lower grade in that than I have in any other piece of work that I have submitted in this university.
Mm-hmm. Again, like here at Kobe University though, because most of what I take is language classes, all of them, like similarly to back in the UK, all of them have been written exams. Yeah. But for me, that's not really weird with the Japanese, because again, part of the component is grading your handwriting and grading the kanji that you can write and all of that. So
yeah. So are you doing any like history or any other like an essay based?
The ones that I've
paper?
Well, I wanted to. I mean, the main thing I wanted to do was improve my language as much as possible. But the only other ones I take,
okay, understand.
The only other ones I've taken are like sort of more discussion-based ones. So where a lot of the time the assessment will be more on like a presentation or something.
Right.
So
Okay.
I haven't taken any ones where I've had to write an essay. That's just been my experience.
Okay.
I know I've
Would
got friends that have, and they've been able to type it up, from what I understand.
Right. Okay. So they're able to type even in Japan.
Yeah. Even like whether it's a English, because there's some classes you can take in English, some in Japanese. Whether it's in English or Japanese, there's some that they've been able to type, I think.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, what's interesting here, and Clark, maybe in Wales also, if you care to confirm or deny, there's an option to do your like essays or your entire coursework in Te Reo Maori, which is really cool. Obviously,
That's
I know
sick. That's
that
really
language.
cool. That's quite cool.
But yeah, so I'm wondering how they'd grade the papers if someone decided to do their stupid handwritten exam, but as like a kind of fuck you gesture to making them do a handwritten exam. Just like, yeah, I've done this in Te Reo Maori, so have fun grading that.
That'd be a bit of a Plaid Cymru move, I think.
Yeah,
Well,
Clark.
No, you cannot submit coursework at my university in Welsh.
Wow. That's
I can imagine some
Any-
people getting angry about that.
Yeah.
Well, English is the language of the nation, so you kind of are expected to be able to speak English and write English. Any communications that come out of the uni are bilingual, though, so they're in English and Welsh.
But you can't submit coursework in Welsh.
No, because then you'd have an expectation that at least one person on each module can read Welsh to be able to mark it.
Which is probably unlikely.
Well, but there's got to be some expectation that at least one person on each module, course, paper, whatever, can speak Te Reo, which is not a super common language here.
Mm-hmm.
Right, but in New Zealand, I imagine there are populations where they don't speak English; they just speak Maori.
No, speaking Te Reo was actually outlawed for a good part of the 1800s. I think it even dabbled sometime into the 1900s before they realized, oh wait, this is like erasing culture. Let's stop.
Mm-hmm. But no, in Wales, the expectation is you still speak English. So
Okay.
everything is in English.
Well, there are communities in Wales that speak Welsh as the primary language.
Yes, but they tend to live always like
In
on
rural
the edge
areas.
of West Wales,
Yeah.
and they don't live in rural areas because that's why they.
And they will speak English as well.
Well, yeah,
Question mark?
you're not gonna.
Yeah.
What? You won't be able to leave your. Not even like. I mean, you wouldn't be able to go to some places in Wales if you couldn't speak English. I imagine they would be able to speak English, surely.
Well, yeah, but some people just don't leave their rural communities.
But I think for a long time, it's only recently that Welsh has been reintroduced as a language in schools in Wales. That seems like a recent policy. I don't know.
Yeah.
I could be talking out my arse there.
No, I think I remember reading some newspaper in like 1990s
Because that's how
reintroducing Welsh into schools.
Because that's how English became widely spoken in Wales. Is because it was sort of a lot of assimilationist policies. Like school begun to be done in Welsh. Welsh became the language. English, I mean, like English became the language of business and all of that. And it's a similar story in Ireland as well.
Yeah, similar story here.
Sort of assimilationist policies, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so it gets into the discussion of like when you've got like a regional language, how should you incorporate that regional language into the education system? It's an interesting thought, actually. You know, that it's separate to the national language of a country.
Well, and then the other question is, what happens if you have multiple regional languages?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, just look at like a country like
Canada.
Canada, yeah. Or
because you've got both the First Nations languages and you've got Quebecois.
Well, I think Canada's a bit of a different case because the Quebecois have quite a lot of political power compared to most in Canada, from what I understand. You know what I mean?
Mm.
The government in Canada does, like, they have a vested interest in trying to appease them, which is why they have a lot of, like, pro-French language policies in Quebec that's quite draconian, from what I understand.
I don't know.
Like,
No,
you can't, like, for example, like, foreign brands have to change their, like, name to French. Like, where when they don't even do that in France.
I
What's,
love
like,
that.
Starbucks called in Quebec? It's called something stupid. It's like Café, like something.
Café du.
But like it's to appease the like the Bloc Québécois nationalists. Starbucks Quebec. What's the name? No, not maps. I'm trying to look it up. Like
Cafe Starbucks.
Yeah, Cafe Starbucks, and it's not even called that in France.
Yep. Wow.
It's called Cafe Starbucks Coffee.
They have like a lot of very draconian policies of like avoiding Anglicization, if you will.
Well, I mean, the French themselves have l'Académie Française, which attempts to stop Anglicization, but they're generally like about 5 years too slow.
I'm not a big fan of linguistic purism. That's just my opinion. I think that if a language is going to be influenced by another one, it's not really something that you can stop, like, top down. You know what I mean? It's just sort of going to happen. Not that
my
I don't
mum
think.
has
Not
come
that I
to
don't
the
think.
same opinion as you.
Go on. Not that I don't think that languages should be protected. They should, but to try and keep them like exactly the same. Yeah, that's not how language works. Like, language has evolved and will continue to. I just think it's a little bit like silly, in my opinion. I don't know.
Yeah, no, you hold pretty much the exact same opinion as my mother. So, yeah.
You know, like, I think if like people start speaking like only English in a non-English speaking country, that's different than they're starting to put English words into their language. I think that's a different thing. Because even in countries like, you know, Denmark and Sweden, where nearly everyone speaks English, they still have an understanding that the English language, you know, it has a role. Like, it has its place. It does, but it doesn't have the place of replacing the national language. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Now, what about accents? Because what with the rise of the internet and iPad kids and blah 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 blah, you've got British kids speaking with an American accent. You've got American kids being indoctrinated to the cult of Peppa Pig and speaking with a British accent. And then you've got obviously like all across at least the English speaking world, and by extension like the bits that do the like interesting variety of accents, and with the internet influencing everyone, and for the most part kids, because that's when you're really developing.
This is fascinating. This is great because, you know, I was saying about my classes here in Japan, here in Kobe, that I've done like presentations for. Actually, one of my presentations was on this very topic.
Oh wow! Yeah, we've stumbled into.
So yeah, it was about basically how British English is becoming more American.
Okay.
And sure, maybe you've got like kids like watching Peppa Pig, but I think sort of in our context, the overwhelming thing that we're seeing is that American English is having much more influence on British English than the reverse. I think you can't argue that.
Population base alone, even if we throw in Britain, New Zealand, Australia, Canada's a bit on both sides, so we'll just disclude them. And let's even say like half of the colonies who speak English. It's and not including India. Like the Americans still have the overwhelming population base. Not even mentioning like media.
Yeah. I think the main
exported.
thing is though that American media has like the influence all over the world, and it has like it's the main English that people hear. So it's the main English that people are influenced by, and that's even true in our country where. You know, despite English is still the sort of native language of most people, like people still hear like American English a lot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
And I'd say part of that is due to the internet, but please.
I think it's huge. Yeah. Let me quickly get up this presentation that I did, and I can kind of have a look at the main points if you just give me a second.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I will say that like I think because before the internet, you know, like most shows were in the UK at least were British, and most content that you could find was British. But because the rise of the internet and streaming services and things like that. That's where like a lot of American influences come. I'd say the movies, like, were even pre-internet, were still
it's
quite
all
American
these things. So I've got this presentation that I've done up right, and it's so we've got American films that everyone in the UK watches. We've got American TV shows. We've got YouTube videos. We've got music that's huge and. We're all exposed to American English when consuming sort of these media products, right?
Yeah.
And the main things is like, and the main reason, and another reason is obviously like the United States is like a global superpower around the world that has all the influence that it has, right?
Yeah.
But an example of how British English is getting more American is obviously a lot of people use a lot of slang, especially like young people. Like a lot of people use like a lot of slang that originates in the US.
Yes.
Right. And you've also got like American spellings superseding British ones, like a lot when people write. I've noticed.
I hate when I'm in a Word document and it gets red and it puts the stupid little red squiggly line, and I'm like, no, I've spelt that right. And then it will try to swap my S with a Z or remove the U from a word, and I'm like, no, get out of here.
You mean the S with a Z? A Z.
You
no.
your language is Word, and then it doesn't do that anymore.
Oh yes, yeah, but it's like when I've downloaded documents, like the cover sheets for universities, they're for some reason a lot of the time in US English, and I'm like, but no, this is either a New Zealand or a United Kingdom institution. Why? But yeah.
So to carry on, I'll sort of also go into some specific like grammatical examples where British English has been influenced by American English. So the traditional British like way to say, like I've just got this email. But something that developed in the United States is I've just gotten this email. That gotten that originates in the United States. I've heard a lot of Brits say I've just gotten this email.
Really?
Yeah, I've heard a lot of people say that. That's an example of American English influencing British English.
Okay.
Another example would be Americans would often say oh, I just ate. Whereas the British way would be I've just eaten.
Yeah.
And I've noticed Brits increasingly start to say I've just ate.
Although the ate thing, that's like slang. That's That's like, "Ooh, she ate," or "Ooh, he ate."
No, not in
Didn't leave a
the
crumb.
not in the
That's-
slang context, just in like a regular context.
I think the slang will then exacerbate the transition in the regular context as well.
Mm-hmm.
I personally, but
Yeah,
yeah,
but I guess to sort of conclude that, it's like, look, I think that sort of cultural osmosis and, you know, languages changing by being influenced by other languages or even dialects of the same language, it's kind of something you can't really stop. Like, it's happened throughout history and it's going to keep happening. And I think that, like, linguistic purism to that extent is just kind of silly, in my opinion. That doesn't mean that I don't think that, you know, especially if you've got like a regional language, like, it shouldn't be protected. It should. I think it should. Like, especially if it's part of culture and heritage. Like, I think the fact that the Welsh people, you know, protect their own language and the Irish are making an effort to revitalise their own language, I don't see that as a bad thing. But you know, I think pure linguistic purism, I'm not a big fan. And actually, I heard recently that there's a quote from Queen Elizabeth II, God rest her soul.
Oh,
And that quote is, "There is no American or British English. There's just English, and then there's mistakes." Now, it's quite funny, but I don't like that attitude. Like, it's like, oh, what, everything that isn't RP is wrong then? I just think that's ridiculous to say. Like, I think that the specific varieties of English around the world are what kind of make it more interesting, you know? That's just my opinion.
yeah. I mean, I really enjoy taking the piss out of the Americans' use of the English language because
so do
I will
I.
say things.
So do I.
I will say things, and one of my flatmates is American, and they'll look at me like I've just like climbed up the wall. Like literally, I was like, "Oh yeah, do you want to leave at 7:15?" And they looked at me and they just like, "What the fuck does that even mean, man?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sorry, a 7:15." And it's like, "Oh."
Yeah,
And they looked at me and they were like, "No, just say 7:15, you dumbass." And I'm like, "No, just actually learn that it's a quarter, not a fourth, you silly."
well, yeah, from that you can argue that all the varieties, the fact that our language, excuse me, the fact that our language has multiple varieties is, yeah, it's a source of humour, it's a source of fun, it's a source of all sorts of things, and I think it's ultimately a good thing. That's my view.
Yeah, I think as long as it's mutually intelligible,
well, if it's not mutually intelligible, I think that's when you get to the point of it being a different language.
Yeah, but
there's a lot of debate on that topic of how language and dialect, like the difference between them, are quite ill-defined and are often quite political as well.
Yeah, but I personally think that, like, I heard some theory that was like US English and British English are just going to drift further apart until they do effectively become two separate languages. And I think with the rise of the internet, that will not be true anymore.
There's no way. We're just getting more interconnected.
Yeah.
I think,
yeah,
like American and British English are only going to get similar.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's my view.
I very much agree with you. I think that person had not studied the effects, or perhaps not anticipated the effects that the internet would have, depending on when that study was conducted.
Yeah.
But yeah. Yeah.
Think we can leave that topic there then?
Yeah, that was
pretty good.
Good.
So
I'm so glad that you'd done a presentation on that. That just worked out hella good.
For that reason, I had quite a lot to say on it, so I think we got some good content out of it, which is cool.
Yeah.
Have you got anything to say, Chris?
No.
Okay. That's fine.
That's a topic for you two, I think. As someone that doesn't really dabble outside of English.
Yeah, that's fine. I mean, there's going to be the odd where maybe, you or one of us doesn't have much of an opinion on it, and that's fine. That's why we have three hosts after all.
Free host for the Venom symbiote.
Yeah. Eddie Brock is you.
Venom. And I'm the mask.
And I'm the mask.
So
Eddie Brock is you.
Venom.
Venom. Get him. Venom. Venom. Thinking it's time to go get him.
When's the next Venom movie coming out?
There was Let There Be Carnage. I never saw that. It was like
I
2021.
never saw that either. But there's got to be another one that we can go and laugh at.
Apparently, so obviously there was like in that whole Sony cinematic universe, there was there was Morbius.
I don't think it's the Sony cinematic universe. I think it's the shit cinematic universe.
Apparently,
because none of those movies are good.
Have you heard about Madame Web?
Yes, Madame Web.
Apparently, Madame Web is absolutely horrendous.
And she was like, "Oh wait, this movie's not good. Don't even go watch it," or something like that.
Yeah.
When your principal actor is saying that, it's the shit cinematic universe, and I'm so glad that they are barreling full steam into a pile of feces.
Apparently, Madame Web is pretty funny. I have not seen it. Apparently, it's like Venom tier. So bad it's good. It's like it is. Now that, do you know what? I think I might have to see that film because it is apparently like that tier.
I mean, if we can all wait until we're back in the same place, I would love to watch that movie with you guys.
Yeah. Let's do it, and let's have a review of Madame Web on a podcast at some point.
In future cars, Madame Sony
Web.
shit universe keyword Madame Web.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Do you have? I don't know if you have a topic you'd like to go into, Chris, before I go into the next topic that I have.
No, I think we had mine at the start.
Oh, okay. All right. So, I don't know if... Let me get up the document a second. So, I don't know... So, Chris, initially, on the document for last week... it was actually the week before last now. But it came out last week, actually. Wrote about sort of the depopulation going on in Japan and what can be learned in the West. What interested you about that?
Well, this is it's an issue that people are conscious of in the East because it's happening now, but the trends that have led to it happening are starting to emerge here in the West as well, but there hasn't been any sort of acknowledgement that this is going to become an issue.
Mm-hmm.
There are countries in Europe, Germany and Italy, where they're starting to tip over into sort of the same place where Japan is.
I think in Europe it's the ones where you've got sort of a big emigration. So you've got a lot of people going to richer countries.
Mm.
Yeah, and I think the EU sort of freedom of movement has played a bit of a role in that as well.
Mm.
But sort of to go back to like what the conditions are with how it's happened in Japan. So obviously I've done a little bit of research on this, and I'll put the sources that I've used in the description of the video. But essentially, when sort of in Japan's like post-war sort of situation, the government was very keen to prioritize, you know, people doing whatever they could to rebuild Japan. So that meant like creating this culture where, you know, work is very important and you need to, you know, work as hard as possible because, you know, this is for the sort of rebuilding of the nation. And that culture kind of never went away. So that's part of the reason why that culture persists to this day. But also there was like a distinct like migration from rural communities. And this has happened in lots of places in Asia. But as a result, Japan became like ludicrously urbanized and still is. I don't know the actual statistic of... Go on.
It didn't just happen in Asia. It happened quite a few places.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
If I remember correctly.
But in the UK now, I don't think you have a huge issue where rural communities are like depopulating, right?
No, but
A lot of people are moving out of the city.
Yeah, no, but if you look at the EU countries that you mentioned having aging populations, like I remember seeing like articles saying if you will live in this rural town in Italy, like you can buy a house for like €3 or something because like no one's there. It's a ghost town, and it's the Italian government is trying to encourage people to not abandon rural shit. So I don't think it is just Asia. I remember Portugal as well had some issues, but then they've now got a lot of issues with the backlash to how the government tried to sort those issues with digital nomads. And if my understanding of it is correct, quite a lot of the Portuguese do not like these new digital nomads because they can't be fucked to learn the Portuguese language. Yeah.
Yeah, well, that gets into some other issues as well. Yeah, well, I think that the situation in Japan is comparable to many countries, even like not even just in Asia. But again, because of that work culture and urbanization, it's sort of created a big disparity between the metropolitan areas and the rural areas, where because there aren't the opportunities in the rural areas, the main people that are living there are like people that don't work, that are old, you know what I mean?
And agriculture people.
Yeah, and people in agricultural sectors, although from what I understand, again, Japan is increasingly importing a lot of that from abroad, so therefore the farming and agriculture industries aren't what they used to be, so that's another problem. There is a lot of protectionism in Japan as well. I'm not going to speak on that like I know what I'm talking about with regards to the agriculture, but yeah, it's led to a strong work culture where the native Japanese population sort of have little incentive to have more children because they're supposed to be more career oriented. And a lot of Japanese women have also become more career oriented, and there's been a lot of pressure for people to, you know, just dedicate their lives more to their job, and it's not created an environment where people are interested in having a lot of kids. And another issue is that in a lot of sort of developed countries, a lot of the these demographic issues have been like supplemented with immigration. And I don't know if in our country there's the same like fertility issues, but certainly with the level of immigration that we have, I don't think we'd have the same issue of, you know, there aren't enough people in the workforce and shit like that. You know what I mean? Because we've got a lot of people coming to our country, and it's similar for the US and other countries like that, and Germany and the richer countries in Europe, you know.
Yeah.
But because like immigration, like throughout Japan's history, I mean, I don't want to say that people had a negative perception of it, but for better or for worse, for its in its post-war years, Japan stayed very monocultural. So you didn't get a lot of like immigration coming in throughout all that time. I mean, the population was rising around then, so that wasn't really an issue back in the 60s and 70s. But because of that, it's created a very sort of monocultural idea. And there are still a lot of people in government who are a bit more hesitant to use immigration as a solution to solve Japan's issues compared to in the West, for example. And I think then there's also a discussion of like, is Japan even an attractive immigration destination compared to Europe?
That's what I was about to say.
Yeah, because that's another issue. Now,
yeah,
I feel like I've been talking for a long time, so go
on. Well, like looking at lots of the countries where people go to, they generally go to countries where they already know the language to some extent. Now, this isn't universal by any means, and there are probably many exceptions, but if you think about like the European and the US countries that lots of people try to go to, it's the languages are either similar to one that they already know,
Mm-hmm.
or a one they already know because they got colonized
Mm-hmm.
by a country that spoke that language.
Yeah, so
Or whereas
go on,
you're
I'll let you
doing a
finish. Sorry, I
3 year
interrupted you there. Go on.
you're doing a 3 year Japanese degree, and on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the most difficult, how difficult would you say learning the Japanese language has been compared to learning Italian? Is your
It's
other key focus at the moment?
so there's a list of languages that what like how long that are ranked by how long it takes for like the US government to train US diplomats to become fluent in the language, right? And
Right, yeah.
so level 1 is like a lot of European languages. So level 1 is like
French, Dutch, Spanish.
Dutch, Spanish. So mostly like Germanic and Romance languages. French, Dutch, Spanish, Italian, things like that. Romanian.
Okay.
Level 2 is only German because German has a lot more complicated grammar than some of those other languages. Like it has like a case system and stuff, so it's a lot harder. Yeah. Level 3 is, I think level 3 is things like Vietnamese and Hebrew, things like that. Indonesian.
What, so Greek as well, probably?
Greek is level 3, I think. Then level 4, you've got stuff like Russian. Or maybe Slavic languages are level 3. Do you know what? I will consult the chart just so I'm not talking out of my arse there. Language levels, US diplomats. Hang on a minute.
Oh, we're hanging. But yeah. I mean, Slavic would make sense to be lower than things like Vietnamese.
Yeah, I think maybe it's the... But do you know what? It doesn't matter too much. Like, I think that like maybe it's Slavic languages that are level 3. Level 4 are things like Hebrew and Thai and Vietnamese and stuff like that.
Yeah. That would...
Level 5 is Arabic, all varieties, Mandarin, Cantonese, Korean, and Japanese. And Japanese is the hardest out of the level 5. It's the hardest major language for an English native speaker who only knows English. Keep in mind, this is only for someone who knows only English to learn. It's the hardest language for the hardest major language for a English native speaker to learn. The most difficult.
Yeah. So that, and it's not as though you are going to be. Your experience in Japan is very much of that of if they speak English, it's generally not very good English unless you're in like a very Anglophiliac place.
Pretty much. That has been my experience. I mean, like, it's helped by the fact that I don't approach people in English. I always start in Japanese, and people always prefer to speak Japanese if they know that you speak. Even if they know some English, they will always prefer to speak Japanese if they know that you can speak Japanese, and that's quite different in some other countries. Like, I think you can, if you know the local language, people might just speak to you in English because either they want to practice their English or they figure that their English is better than your French or whatever. German or whatever.
Like the French,
the
French will fully be like, "You're speaking French. That is not necessary. Fuck off." Yeah.
Yeah. So what we're getting at is that the language is an aspect that means that because a lot of jobs also require the JLPT N1. Which is like the highest language test fluency. Like I'm learning material for N2 now, and I've been studying the language like basically like full time for like 2.5 years.
And then you were studying it before that.
Yeah, I was studying it a bit before that. I think though, if we're talking in terms of pace, most of my pace has been since I came to university and stuff like that. But like. Yeah, the language. I mean, to be fair, Japanese isn't that hard for Koreans and Chinese to learn because there's a lot of lexical similarity and with Korean grammatical similarity.
Right.
But there are other issues between Japan, Korea, and China of bad relations. That,
none of them get on.
They don't get on very well, so that's another reason that the immigration. Yeah, there aren't. And I think the thing is it's like, unless you're like interested in Japan, like which most immigrants they want to move to a country that just has a better standard of living and a better work environment, right? And the West is more attractive than somewhere like Japan, and it just always will be.
Because isn't the third largest immigrant populace in Japan from Brazil?
Well, that's a very interesting story about in the 90s, what was called the Nikkei, right? So the Nikkei was a program by the Japanese government. It's when they kind of first acknowledged that they had a shortage of workers, and they thought that it would be more ethnically acceptable to the population if they got like Japanese, people from other countries with Japanese blood, the highest community of which is in Brazil.
Yeah.
The reason being is because the United States and Australia, which were the main countries that a lot of people immigrated to from places like Italy and Germany and other places at that time, had like policies against non-white immigration. So that's why a lot of Japanese people who were struck by famine, for example, moved to South America, because such policies didn't exist.
Yeah.
But so when these people came to Japan, the Japanese found that they were thoroughly Brazilian and not very Japanese. Most of them didn't even speak it anymore. And they were just dealing with regular foreigners, basically. Like, just because they had Japanese blood didn't make an ounce of difference. So
they were just dealing with loads of vaguely Japanese Brazilians.
Yes, like Brazilians of Japanese descent.
I mean, it sounds fun.
Mm-hmm.
It is a country crossover that you don't really think about too much. But
it's still the largest Japanese community abroad to this day.
Wow.
Yeah, for a variety of reasons.
But okay. So that covers the immigration side of the population things that lots of other countries have used. So what about just encouraging people to have kids more? Why don't they encourage that?
Well, the government tries, but the problem is that, again, you can say like and introduce like sort of policies that where the idea is to promote fertility, but the issue is the way that everything is set up like isn't changing, so it's not really working because you still have this work culture, you still have all of these things that don't promote the change, and that's resulting in things not changing.
So part of it is about trying to shift a culture within its own borders.
I don't even know if that's what they want to do, though. I think they just can't be seen to like not address the issue in any way, because they don't seem to be doing that much. It's a tough one. I don't know. Do you have any thoughts on this, Chris?
Well, I was just going to say, but isn't it the case that in South Korea they're literally going to go extinct by like 2500?
Mm-hmm.
Because they're not reproducing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well,
I mean,
I think another thing in the immigration angle is that someone from any country can come to the UK, right? And they can have children, and those children can be seen as by the population as British as anyone else. You know what I mean? Just because they don't have entirely British blood, like that doesn't change the fact. That doesn't change their Britishness in most people's eyes. But in somewhere like Korea or Japan, they still see it by blood because they're 98% ethnically homogenous. So,
Mm.
like, if you have children, like, if two immigrants have a child born in Japan and speaks Japanese fluently, it's still like they won't be considered Japanese in the same way.
Mm.
And that's part of the unattractive immigration thing, right?
Yeah, it's about like how welcoming or how accessible a country is.
Mm-hmm. I mean, my experience is I don't think I think most Japanese people are aware that it's something that immigration is kind of something that needs to happen. Like, they don't really have a choice. But it doesn't change that, you know, there's certain things that don't seem to be being sort of moved.
So they kind of want to have their cake
and eat it too, and that's the problem, is you can't really have these things. You know, it's like it's
they
it's
either need to completely change their culture, or they need to completely change their culture around something, be it immigrants or be it that work-life balance. One of them has to change, because otherwise your debt's gonna go wee woo when all the people are old and they can't work anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think they can solve the immigration problem very easily, because you can make your culture more accessible, but the language is still quite a hard, tall barrier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also in Japanese companies, it's like high language ability is expected. It's not like something that you can get around. So I don't like. I'm not sure what the solution is unless people are prepared. You know, people in countries like Japan are prepared for some kind of radical change. I really don't know what the solution is unless they're.
But is immigration the solution to that kind of an issue, where it's not so
I agree with Clark.
Go on. What do you mean?
Population of a country and more of the ethnic group of that country, so the Korean ethnicity.
Well, I don't even know. But for example, in the UK, are ethnic British people also like? Is this something that we're going through? I don't know, because it's not recorded in terms of ethnicity in our country. I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
But
I think there's similar trends with people having children. No.
If I was the government of Japan, I would very much be trying to shift away from that work is everything culture. Because
they're trying to. The government is, but it's very it's very entrenched. It's very entrenched.
Very haphazardly.
Yeah, it's very entrenched, and it's quite difficult to sort of move, especially with a lot of companies and what they expect. It's quite difficult to move these things because it's what they've built the entire society around. It's quite a difficult thing.
I guess you need to lead by example. I guess all the politicians need to be having kids.
Have sex.
Pretty much.
I think there just should be like one guy that has like 10 children, like 50, like 10 of them, 50 of them.
This is interesting.
I mean,
was reading the article.
Yeah,
it's about,
because I remember it was newsworthy a few years back when like the foreign minister took like 2 weeks paternity leave, and everyone was like, "Oh my god, he took paternity leave! What is the world coming to?"
In Japan, in Japan, it's looked down upon because it's like you're not being like, time off is looked down upon because it's like you're not being like a team player or whatever. You're not looking out for the group. You're not looking out for the company. So, go on, Chris.
This is a study by the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace, and they reckon that in 2020 they did a Korean identity survey, and support among South Koreans for a multicultural country declined from more than 60% in 2010 to just 44%. Where and 40% of respondents still preferred an ethnically homogeneous South Korea.
So as in most people would prefer the country to stay homogenous or not. Right.
Yeah, so most people would prefer for there to be for South Korea to remain a monocultural.
Well, I mean, like,
Monoethnic.
obviously, in the West, that's kind of quite unacceptable with the, sort of multiculturalism that we have now. But that is kind of how these countries are. Like, they are homogenous. They have a general, like, homogenous culture. Like,
Well, they need to have more kids if they want to survive. Then
that's the thing. It's like you've got two options. You've got two options: either
have sex,
or have immigrants. Because another big issue is like Go on, Chris.
But one of the things I found interesting, especially with South Korea, because this is what the main thrust of my thoughts were about, is that there is an argument being made within the country, and I don't necessarily agree with this, but the argument is that feminism and women's rights have meant that people are having less kids. Because the idea is that we should have equal rights as men to go and work, so they do. But then because they're working, they don't want to have kids because they don't want to have to stop working because obviously you've got two parents. One of them's going to have to stop, and in most cultures it would be the mother.
Again,
well,
yeah.
To some extent, it kind of has to be the mother because the dad can't give birth. Well, just yet. So who knows what science will provide?
Like, again, you can't. This is the thing. Yeah, I think advancement of rights of lots of different individuals are also contributing to this issue. Now, I think no one would argue that women having sort of the agency to do whatever they want is a bad thing. Like, I think most people would agree that that's a good thing. But it's certainly like it certainly could be part of the reason why it's happening. Like, and
but the thing is, in South Korea, is it's being given as like, oh, this is why, because in South Korea they've had such a switch from women traditionally staying at home to all women now, want to work.
Yeah,
they don't want to have kids.
Yeah, I mean, well, like I said, it's a similar thing in Japan where you've got a lot of women that are more work oriented, and that's another another reason for the population collapse. I mean, I'm personally pro women having the agency to do what they want, either be career oriented or home oriented. But again, yeah, I think it is impossible to argue that those social developments have probably resulted in less children. I actually think that it'd be difficult to argue otherwise, and that's another issue that I think that needs to be contended with.
Now, kind of related to this issue, there's the issue of why do people want to have careers in the first place? It's like it because in an ideal world, I'm imagining most people would prefer that no one had to do any work and it was all just chilling time. Now I could be wrong, but I think the stage of civilization, society, capitalism, whatever label we're throwing on this thing we're at, is a large, if not root cause of this problem. Because the only reason why people want to have like careers and stuff, maybe some of it's the power and the prestige and whatever, but a lot of it's money.
I think it's I think the reason a lot of people want advanced careers, it's not just I think the financial benefit is part of it, but it's also like they want that status, like it's I am this, I am the CEO of this company, or I have this position in this company, and that I suppose that creates a lot of that gives a lot of people drive, and it gives a lot of people purpose, and I can understand that to an extent. I think
But yeah, I know, especially in like Western cultures, lots like a lot of the factor of putting people off kids is the fucking finances.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Because what if you wanna like raise your kids let's say the way that we were raised, you have to have a house,
Mm-hmm.
maybe rented, cars pretty useful, um, not downright essential, but it's going to be a pain in the ass if you don't have a car. You have to have enough food to feed another mouth. You have to have money for like school trips, school uniforms, like. And while some of these are luxuries, like what you want your kids to be able to achieve luxuries. You don't want them to be fucking sat inside miserable while all their mates are on the school trip
Yeah,
with like a
there's so
shitty
many
damaged
like
uniform.
entangled things with this is the problem. It's like
Yeah,
once you start discussing it, you get into so many different things, and I think this is part of the issue.
yeah, because I'm not even considering the possibility of having any children before I'm 30
Mm-hmm.
because fuck knows I'm not going to have the money before then.
Yeah.
Like, even putting aside the fact that generally having a kid means, you have a responsibility to someone other than yourself and your partner, assuming you have a partner, which, if you have a kid, is generally the case.
Yeah. Well, again, I mean, globally, the world is seeing a growth in population. This is just an issue affecting developed countries.
Yeah,
So,
but because the developed countries, it's the finances, and like in less developed countries, people will have kids and view them as an asset because they will be like helping on the farm. Like at a certain age, there'll be whatever child mortality is still
and the kind of
high factor.
and the kind of local communities are a lot stronger in developing countries a lot of the time as well. So you've kind of got a lot more. Go on.
Where would we put India? Developing
Still. Think about how poor a lot of rural communities are in India. Developing, I think. China as well is developing, technically.
Well, China is going to have a population decline, but India is still on the up. Like, there's still more people being born in India now.
Yeah. But even China still has quite poor rural communities. It's like it's not like the average Chinese person doesn't have the living standard of someone in South Korea or Japan. So that's why it's generally not classed as a developed country.
Yeah, China's also kind of shot itself in the foot with having the one-child policy for so long.
Well, yeah, this is part of the issue. Yeah,
policy, and then the free. So I think China's factors are kind of separate from the rest of the world population.
And then they were like, "Oh God, let's peel this back." Yeah, it's
too late.
That's a very good point. That's a very good point.
Silly she-dada. Silly.
I think it was Deng Xiaoping that introduced that policy.
Well, I'm still calling she-dada silly because
that's what you want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing is there's a lot of entanglement of lots of different things with this issue, and I think I think people smarter than me are going to have to come up with solutions for problems like these. But I think in Japan's case, it has a choice. They either promote fertility, or they get more comfortable with immigration, like that.
Well, the thing I was reading then was that there was a South Korean lady again, because this was obviously the big study, because the South Korean, what's it called, like the number. The fertility rate was like 0.7 and it's now like 0.64.
Is it worse than Japan? Do you know?
Yeah, it's the worst.
It's worse than Japan. There you go.
Yeah. Japan is like 1. But she was saying like, oh well, I want to have kids, but I also want to get a promotion at work, and I'm concerned if I take time off to raise a kid, I'm not going to get the promotion at work. And in her mind, the promotion at work was the most important thing because she wanted to climb the ladder.
Yeah.
I think that's the case for a lot of these societies.
Yeah, that's what I was saying about the entrenched work culture.
Exactly. The idea of taking time off and there being like a life outside of work is kind of seen as a negative.
Yeah, no, this is still quite widespread, even in... Because again, like, Korea has quite a similar history to Japan, where they were South Korea at least, where they were completely devastated after the war, and that it took a big effort to rebuild them. So,
I think quite a lot of corporations would dream of the West having a similar work culture to like Japan and South Korea, because all they care about is profit, and
would they though?
Time people spend.
I think the problem is that there's no evidence to suggest that what goes on in Japan and Korea makes people more productive. I think it makes them less productive. Like look at all the research about a 4-day work week and stuff like that.
True.
I don't think you can make that sort of argument that corporations are completely have no vested interest in the health of their employees. I don't think
some corporate cultures, it's like the culture of like brown nosing and whatever. Like, you know, where like my dad, I remember him telling me that when I was a kid, like his boss was like, "Oh, you know, you always go home like right on the dot. Why don't you stay and work some more?" Like, and it's like my dad like looked at him and he was like, "Well, I've got a kid. I'm gonna spend time with that kid before he goes to bed." So I think maybe not all corporations, but I think there is that level of corporate culture where people are driven for the promotion, and people to show how good they are and want their promotion. They won't take all their paid time off. They won't take they will like get in early and leave late and sacrifice that personal life for the company. And I saw people do it at my previous job.
Yeah,
I saw people being like, "Oh, I'll work through my break," and be like, well, especially like people who weren't getting paid for their break. I'd be like, what are you this isn't a charity. Why are you effectively doing volunteering work? You know, it's if ever I sacrifice some personal thing for a company that cares about money more than like doing good or whatever, then I think I would need to very much re-examine where I'm at in life and analyze how I came to be there.
I think what you're saying is quite interesting. I mean, I think again, I can't really speak in terms of I've never worked. I'm not really old enough to have, but I've never worked like an office job or anything like that. So I can't talk about like the corporate culture firsthand. But I do think that, you know, every single company and every single, you know, a company's culture can be quite idiosyncratic, and I think that you get a lot of different work cultures and companies across, you know, whatever company you're talking about. You know, I think it really depends where you work. I don't think you can talk about work culture in different companies in an absolutist sense like that, in my opinion.
True. There are probably some different ones, but you do hear like the story of the average 9 to 5, quote unquote.
Yeah, I mean, it's not something
there's a reason that those stories exist, you know.
But it's not something that, like, a corporate 9 to 5 job isn't something that I'm personally interested in. But to be honest, I do see the value in just having a job where you go at 9, you leave at 5, and that's that. You know what I mean? And you have that sense of structure. And a big corporation can provide that. You know, if you're starting your own business, if you're going out on your own, you better be prepared to work much longer hours than that. You know, if you're doing something online, if you're making YouTube videos, or you're an artist or whatever, you don't have consistent work hours. It can be a lot more difficult in that sense. So, you know what? while it's personally not for me, the fact is that big corporations, because they have that set out structure that they have, I understand why it's attractive to a lot of people, because some people value that sense of structure. I think it's down to what you personally think you'd like to get out of your job.
Yeah. Well.
And
Yeah.
And the thing about companies being solely motivated for profit, I mean, it's true to an extent, but that's kind of why in Western countries and in sort of capitalist countries, we've had the success that we've had and we've had the development that we've had. It's because, people have had incentive to manage resources effectively through profit. That's why the systems of capitalism have created wealthier countries than alternative economic systems, in my opinion, at least. I certainly think that solely profit-oriented sort of system is far from perfect. I don't make that argument. I'm not like a libertarian or anything. But I am a capitalist for that reason, because I think that it's just the best way that resources can be managed, because I've never seen anything convincing. I've never seen a convincing alternative system of
that's been
demonstrated thus far.
Yeah.
Thus far. That's where my disposition comes from. It's like I'm looking at what's worked around the world so far. If our systems develop into something else, then that's something I'm open to. I'm not married to the idea of capitalism personally.
Yeah,
and I am a liberal and a social democrat in that I believe in a strong social net to pick up those that capitalism disadvantages. I think that's really important. A sort of social democracy system. I think that's why I have that disposition that I do. But go on.
Yeah, I would like to see some change, and I couldn't put my finger on exactly what, but this present system has issues, and I think
it's certainly true. It's certainly true. Go on, I keep interrupting you. I think
past 2000, quite a few of the more systemic issues are being revealed to us now. What that alternative system would be, I do not know.
Right, yeah, this is
but I am hoping on some change at some point at some time in the future, which is a very vague statement, but what more can I do?
Do you have any thoughts on this, Chris?
No, but I was going to say that we could bring on a new topic quickly as breaking news has emerged, and I can get your live reactions.
Oh, yeah. I think we've quite exhaustively talked about that last topic, so I think I'm happy to move on. That was very good. Right. That was interesting.
Yeah.
So the surprise topic is the First Minister of Scotland has resigned.
Humza Yousaf's gone.
He's gone.
Well,
reactions go.
Isn't this because the deal that the SNP had with the Greens broke down? No.
He exited the coalition with the Greens, and they weren't very happy about
But was it? But I don't think it was a true coalition. It was just a sort of informal agreement. No.
Supply and confidence.
Yeah,
no, they were
in
in the cabinet.
Oh, they were.
No,
okay. I could be wrong about that. I don't know.
My opinion is lol. That party is in complete disarray after Sturgeon and after the legal troubles,
after the Salmon stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, lol. That's all I can say.
I think that these regional parties, I mean, my view is that they are kind of tearing our country apart. I'm not going to lie.
My view is nationalism is bad.
Well, Scottish nationalism is different to most nationalism.
It's still nationalism and therefore bad.
Why is nationalism bad, though?
I think that British.
Right.
I think that British nationalism is good. I don't think that Scottish nationalism is good. That's my opinion. I'm not Scottish.
No,
That's
no.
my
I
opinion.
think no. I'm being very patriotism, all good. Nationalism, bad.
Depends what you mean
Like
by nationalism, though.
I by nationalism, I'm talking about the fervent like, oh, our nation is like the greatest. It's better than everyone else's, and yeah,
Is
patriotism
that not
being
more?
like,
Is that not more ultra nationalism, though?
um,
I would have thought that nationalism is just the support for your nation state.
no, I think I'd class that as patriotism. Maybe my definitions are fucked, but I think patriotism is like, yes, I love my country. It's good.
Because
Like
in
I our country and its history. I'm interested in, and I like my country in its present form, and wish it to do well. Nationalism is like,
I mean,
to my mind, far more
I'm
about
okay with nationalism.
better.
I'm okay with nationalism in the sense that my country should exist. You know, and the territorial integrity of it should be protected. I'm not okay with nationalism in the sense of I think my country is better than others, and I think that we should disengage from other countries and we should disengage from, you know, good relations with other places and be very insular.
Yeah,
I don't think
that's what
good.
my view of nationalism is.
Well, then I guess it depends on your
That's why I say
definition of
nationalism
nationalism.
bad.
Let's get back to the
Yeah,
SNP though. We've gone off topic a little bit.
yeah.
Like,
So the way that it happened was
yeah, go on.
he dissolved the coalition
Yeah.
on Friday.
Yeah.
The Scottish Conservatives then called a motion of no confidence in him as First Minister and another in the Scottish government. All opposition parties signed on to it, and the SNP they have like a 1-seat minority.
Yes, I remember. Yeah.
So they had to supply. They were relying on the support of the one Alba MSP, who is it's pronounced Alpa.
Oh, isn't that Salman's party?
It is Salmon's party.
Alpa. Yeah, he started his own Brexit like Reform UK type thing.
Oh, fuck me.
Because the one MSP for Alpa is Ash Reagan, and she was a contender for the SNP leadership, who then defected after she lost.
That's so funny.
And when she defected, Humza Yousaf said she's no great loss, and then she became the kingmaker to whether he'd survive or not.
What a dumbass.
What an idiot! That's so funny.
What a dumbass.
So
what? So
when she sent a letter of demands to Humza that he could obviously never agree to, because she's a complete other wing of the. Because the SNP, problem with the SNP, because it's a nationalist party, it doesn't have a fixed position on the political compass of left or right.
Yeah, but it's that kind of weird like left wing nationalism that some places have. Like, for example, like where you're left wing in opposition to something that's right wing. Where they portray themselves as left wing in opposition to the Conservative government in Westminster, if that makes sense.
The thing is, the SNP pivoted to the left under Nicola Sturgeon, and even more to the left under this coalition agreement.
So under Salmon, they weren't left.
They were more centre leftish.
Okay.
And then,
but they got into more like left wing, like social policy and stuff like that.
Yeah, which is why the right flank of the SNP was a bit alienated, and especially Ash Reagan, who then left and became the Alpa MSP.
Yeah,
she sent a letter of demands to Humza Yousaf that he can never agree to, because there was things like accepting or acting on the findings of the CAS report, which is the transgender study for things like puberty blockers. They were never going to accept that because the Greens were not going to accept that.
Yeah.
So forth.
Because they kind of had that agreement on social policy between the Greens and the SNP that they weren't going to agree to.
Yeah,
I see.
And the SNP went back on their clean energy, or was it greenhouse gases? One of their promises for 2030 that they'd agree with the Greens as well. So that was one of the reasons the Greens were upset with them. So basically, it was relying on this one MSP to keep him in office. Couldn't agree to her demands, and so he's had to go. which means we're going to get a new
Well-
First Minister of Scotland.
An SNP member. So what? So
It will be-
so
it will
the
be
thing
an
is, what
SNP again.
happens now?
So now the SNP are going to govern as a minority government.
Oops.
And so it's a one-seat minority government.
Uh-huh.
Is in there. So they only, but then they're unlikely to get anything else through that's controversial.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not good in the sense that it's a government that will be a lot more ineffective. I suppose that's my kind of take
Was
on
the
it.
SNP ever? My argument was the SNP was never effective. What exactly did they achieve? other
Nothing.
than-
I mean, I'm not.
No, they achieved annoying the British court with their repeated pleas that can we please hold an election despite the fact that Westminster hasn't signed off on it, please.
Well, no. What they thought was, oh yeah, we should just have despite the fact that we had our Scottish independence referendum, we think that we should keep having them until we get the right answer. That's what they think.
Yeah.
The SNP managed to buy 2 ferries that still haven't been built.
Uh-huh.
And then there's the whole Nicola Sturgeon.
Why have they built ferries? Why are they building ferries?
They contracted a shipyard in Glasgow to build them 2 new ferries for the islands.
What, the Shetlands?
Mm-hmm.
Not the Shetlands, the Hebrides.
Right.
The shipyard went under, so they nationalised it.
Right. Okay.
It gets better.
Yeah.
They were supposed to come into service in 2018 and 2019. They're still not here.
Yeah. Oh. Okay.
And
You
they've
can't
now
even blame it on COVID.
They've now spent roughly £360 million on 2 ferries.
Oh fuck
Because
me.
they keep getting delayed and not built, having to go and get fixed.
And hang on, 2 ferries that go to islands. Now, how big is the population of these islands, please?
I don't know, but the ferries they're currently using are 40 years old.
Oh, is it the islands that wanted to leave and join Norway?
No.
Oh, that was Orkney.
Yeah, the Orkneys. Which they are very Scandinavian influenced up there.
Uh-huh. Well, I mean,
these are ferries.
I don't know much about that whole thing, but go on.
No, these are for the west of Scotland, Hebrides Islands.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So to throw some New Zealand politics into the mix. Now, obviously, there are 2 main islands in New Zealand. We're not including Stewart Island. Sorry, all the Stewart Islanders listening to this. I love you guys, but
I'm sure there's many of them.
There's about 400. So there is like 2 state-run ferries. I think there's 2 that go between North Island and South Island. I've been on one, and they're like they can carry freight, cars, people, whatever, and they're quite old. I'm not sure if they're 40 years old, but they're quite old, and our government has just scrapped plans to refresh them, partially because they are like doing mini austerity, but partially because they were like, how much do we need them? We don't. So yeah, fun Kiwi parallel thing. Instead of wasting loads of money, they decided to not spend any money. Although I'm not sure whether if they spent the money effectively and just built another couple of boats, it would have been better. I haven't looked into it that much. Inter-Islander ferry is pretty cool though. Yeah.
I think my take on the thing is that like it's bad for Scotland in the sense that they've got a devolved government that's going to function a lot less effectively. But again, what was it doing before? But I'm not a fan of the devolved governments. Like I understand why they were put in place, but I think they've torn the country apart, and I think I
think it's time to end the experiment, if anything.
Oh, but no one's going to accept that. Do you think the Scottish people would accept that? It's not happening. It's not going to happen.
Okay, well, slowly strip powers until it does become more useless, because
that would make the Westminster government look good.
Yeah, right. No, so the Scottish government has now made itself look like a bit of a joke, right? And so you cut the funding, and so they do less, and then you keep spiraling until you're like, well, you're paying loads of these MSPs salaries, and what are they actually doing for you? Fuck all. So
I think
it would have to be a slow process.
I think the genie's out of the bottle now.
Wouldn't that strengthen the argument for independence, TD, from the Scottish government to say, well, look, we're being hamstrung by Westminster?
Yeah, they're stripping powers from us. Like,
well, no, because then Westminster can then be like, well, look, you had 25 years and all you got through is a failed referendum.
They're not going to be convinced by that argument. No way.
Spent loads of money on boats that don't exist, and then continue to complain about a referendum that you wanted again that failed the first time.
I understand why it was done with Northern Ireland. Like, I think that was a very clever policy to get peace there. Like, I think few people would disagree that being part of the Good Friday Agreement that Blair made, it was a very good way to resolve the conflict there, and it was a genius sort of piece of policy in conflict resolution. But the fact that then Wales and Scotland got their own governments too, I think has had disastrous consequences, honestly. I think unforeseen consequences.
I'm fully in agreement. I
think, do you know what? And again, do you know what? If someone, God forbid, who's Scottish or Welsh is listening to this and they have a different opinion, like, I can respect that. Again, I say this as like an English person who lives in England and, you know, but I think that...
And likes the country
and like, yeah, but
the shape
do you know
it
what?
Is right now.
I really think that it should be important that we all view ourselves as British first and English, Scottish, Welsh, Irish second. Like, I think that's important.
That's interesting, because we had a discussion on this a few weeks ago.
And do you know what?
And I was like, I view myself as British first.
And do you know what? My opinion has changed.
Oh.
My opinion has changed.
Mind sharing, like, what made you change your opinion?
Just thought about it, and the idea is that, like, think most people in most countries identify with their nationality first and then their local area and region. Like in Italy, people are Italian first, but they might be Neapolitan second, or they might be Venetian second, or whatever.
Or Florentine.
Or whatever. And I think that in a British context, that's a way better way of viewing it. We're British first.
Yeah, because
we're British first. We're all British. You know, Northern Ireland, I think, is a bit more complicated. But I'm talking in terms of Scotland and Wales. Like, I think Northern Ireland is a lot more complicated. But I think we should view ourselves as British first. We all speak the same language. We have a pretty big common culture, and you could be English, Scottish, Welsh second. Like, that's what I think it should be. Now, if someone who's Welsh or Scottish has a different perspective, I can understand that. But that's just my view. That's just my view. That's my view too. Resolving the problems with the British national identity, which has become way more convoluted than it has to be. I thought about this a lot, and my opinion has changed.
Well, I think some of the issue with the way that devolution has worked is we kind of end up with this halfway house of federalisation.
Yeah, where it's like it's a unitary authority, like, where it's like they have power, but they're not supreme to the Westminster government, right?
Well, also the fact you've got the Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland have their own national government, but the English don't.
Yeah,
we still have Westminster.
Yeah, we just have the British thing,
which means that policies are not made for England in the same way that policies are made for Scotland or for Wales. You know, Scottish students don't pay tuition fees. That is a Scottish policy.
But I think that the Scottish Parliament...
No English government can make that policy.
But most of Britain is English culture, though. Like, I think you can argue that Britain kind of is England, in a way.
Yeah.
And
well, that's what the Americans believe.
Like, but I think it's a compelling argument, you know, that most... When you ask a foreigner or someone from another country what you think of British culture is, it would be a English, you know, culture. It wouldn't be Scottish or Welsh, would it? Just
unless they have Scottish or Welsh ancestry.
Exactly. It's like the Scottish and Welsh shit is in opposition to the English culture in a way. So
But
I don't think anyone's even arguing though that a devolved English Parliament is a thing. But you saw that a lot of people, the arrangement of what the Scottish, government is and what the devolved government is that they're not supposed to be supreme to Westminster. They can make decisions, but Westminster can block them. But then the problem is that when Westminster, they blocked the gender recognition bill in Scotland, and that was, I think, the first time that they blocked anything. Now, honestly, I respect a lot of people having a lot of different opinions on the gender recognition bill, because I could see positives with it. I could see, lots of different things about it. And do you know what? I can respect a lot of different opinions on it. But, you saw that Westminster blocking that bill was seen as very unacceptable, and it was something that that people weren't happy about.
Yeah, it caused more, we should have another referendum.
Yeah, exactly. So that's another part of the issue.
Yeah.
It's a mess, is what it is.
Yeah. Again, things need to change. I've suggested the way that I personally would change them, but I am not eternally wise.
I think I think the genie's out of the bottle with the devolved governments. They just need to know their place. That's what I think.
Yeah. Yeah. But right, it is vastly approaching.
Well, go on. Let Chris say. Let Chris finish what he was saying.
We've got this sort of weird hybrid in England now with all these mayors, though.
True. Yeah, that's quite weird as well.
Which set policy as well for a city.
Well, that's more sort of local politics, though, isn't it? It's kind of different.
Yeah, but like Andy Burnham is responsible for transport and housing and stuff. And it's like,
is that not the case in other countries? Is it not well like that?
You always have.
It's kind of a bizarre arrangement where we've got sort of 3 tiers of devolution. They're all at different levels. And it's like,
it's a bit of a mess. I can't disagree with that. I can't disagree with that. Go on, TD. I think you seemed keen to, seeing that we've been going for 2 hours.
2 hours.
I think.
Well, actually, no. Hang on. And 2 hours.
Yeah, 2 hours 7.
Yeah. Okay. Right.
Well, has anyone got any last points or anything?
Yeah. Final thoughts.
Nope.
Go watch Madam Web.
Okay. Yeah.
Go and see Madam Web.
In preparation for
the Madam
when we
Webcast.
watch it, which will be earliest July, earliest September, August, a month in the future. But yeah, right. Okay, so, this has been a great conversation. This has been very deep and interesting. We have been your hosts, Ben, or Ben.
That's
Say
me.
bye-bye, Ben.
That's me. Toodles.
We have also been Clark, or Chris, or any name vaguely beginning with a C. Say bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I thought we banned that.
And I have been TD, still existing. And I will say bye-bye. Bye-bye. Peace, peace, peace. Good night.
Well, life on the farm was kind of laid back.